Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. And I'll shift to the Vikings because I think Kevin O'Connell is really smart, really sharp guy.
I agree. Yeah.
So people ask me, who do you think is going to make it and not make it? And I say, I think Caleb Williams is kind of in the Andrew Luck. It'll work to some degree because he's just so damn good. Plus, they bring Keenan Allen over, DJ Moore. Those are two big-time receivers. They've got Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet. Those are very above-average tight ends. They have a left tackle. They like offensive line's not chaos. It's okay. They'll probably put some draft capital into it. Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson. There's some dudes there. And it's not a great defensive division. So Caleb should be able to move the chains. It's not the AFC North. It's the NFC North, which is offense, Packers. In fact, you could argue Chicago's got the best defensive personnel now with Montez Sweat deal and how he played. So my takeaway is when people ask me who is going to be the second quarterback, the second best quarterback in this draft is whoever Minnesota gets. Jesus, John. Elite running back, Aaron Jones. Left tackle, star receiver, tight end, offensive coach who won a game with Josh Dobbs without a practice. I kind of feel I've come to the conclusion over all these years, about every fifth year we get a quarterback. Again, I think Caleb is this, Andrew Luck. They're just going to win some games. They're just different. And then it's basically who lands in mud and who lands, on a clean surface. I tend to think if J.J. McCarthy falls to like 10, 11, 12 and Minnesota's around there, and I don't love J.J. McCarthy, I think he'd work.
Well, I don't know if you saw, there was a lot happening this weekend. Minnesota traded some second-round picks to get another first-round pick,
Yes.
And a lot of people remember the Eagles did
Yes.
this a long time ago when they used capital to get Carson Wentz. They get up to get J.J. McCarthy, who, if you just watch him on the surface of what he is right now, you go, that's a second, third-round pick. But you factor in he's 20 years old. There are a lot of positive things. I think, I saw Lance Zierlein tweeting about this. The more in-depth you study him, there's stuff to like big picture. Like there's a lot of room to grow. But Colin, I don't think he wouldn't even start right away. Right. They signed Sam Darnold to $10 million, and they would give him almost the ability. Sam's proven high character guy. People love him. It's one of those perfect things. I think they kind of envy what the Chiefs did years ago to let Patrick Mahomes take a deep breath. And I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy would become Patrick Mahomes by any means, but historically, a lot of guys in the NFL had success when they didn't get thrown into the action. You kind of get to learn to be a pro, and that's where Minnesota, like Caleb, is not going to get that. He's going to get thrown into the action. But you could argue, and I wrote this down, usually when you're the number one overall pick, I would say if we just went over the last 20 years, you go to an awful team. Peyton Manning, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence. Andrew Luck went to a team that did have, like Reggie Wayne was on it, Robert Mathis. They had been winning, but they weren't great. It was more his greatness. You could argue this Bears team is one of the best rosters a number one pick has been to.
Well, they have five players. Montez Sweat, people bitched about that trade for a second rounder. He's better than any second rounder. Arguably, it's going to be in this draft. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Jalen Johnson. Those are elite players. My question now, does Carolina have one now that Burns is traded? They don't have a single. They don't.
No, they're
in Chicago.
And that's a good example. Usually you go to a team like the Carolina Panthers where you got no shot. And most guys are not Peyton Manning. They can't overcome it, and they just get destroyed. Caleb actually got pretty lucky. This all kind of worked out. Ryan Poles, he got off to a slow start, the Chase Claypool move, but has made a lot of really good moves. Now there's a lot of talent, and they have an infrastructure for a young quarterback, right? Like you said with Minnesota. A couple years ago, they were a legitimate playoff team, a lot of talent on the team. That's a fantastic spot for a young quarterback to go. So not all teams are created equal when they draft Zach Wilson. He was probably going to be bad no matter what, but he had no shot.
Well, you bring up a good point. So the Vikings trade up. So the Vikings have done a couple things. They went and signed in free agency a couple of B-levels defensive players. So their take is, listen, this is about the quarterback. We're not gonna spend too much money. We're gonna go a little bit like Houston did last year. Nick Casario's first free agency period. They got B guys, character guys, B guys, hardworking guys, good in the locker room guys. Then they make the trade that you pointed out. Now they have the 11 and the 23 pick in the first round. And so I think what they're doing is there's a guy they like. They're not going to get Caleb, and they probably know they're not going to get Drake May. But what they're I think, to me, in your point, if you have the 11 and 23 and you give up both to get to the 7, then all of a sudden you can get to 7. You're not getting to 1. You can get to 7 and not have to give up more picks. Then all of a sudden, that's probably in the JJ. I mean, you're going to tell me the Chargers wouldn't go down from like a 5 to an 11 for the 11th and 23? Because the Chargers have about 4 to 5 crucial needs. They need another first-round pick.
Well, I'll give you one. What if you're the New England Patriots and you love Caleb and you love Jaden Daniels and you're just kind of on the other guys? You need a long way to go. You're resetting your franchise. You go, hey, 11, 23, a couple seconds. That's a ton to just kind of retool the roster, take a deep breath. Maybe you suck again next year and are in position to get another quarterback. You never want to force the quarterback. Now, Minnesota would be doing that with J.J. McCarthy, but I think they saw, if you truly like your guy and you have the conviction, what does it matter? I'll never forget, and I've said this countless times, the Jets example. The Jets hit on a ton of players, but they whiffed on the quarterback. You can hit on a million players if you whiff on the quarterback, but if you get the right guy, and they are already lucky enough to have, they already have pieces. They have a good left tackle. They have excellent wide receivers. They have a good coaching staff. I mean, Flores is their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Right? Go with Kevin O'Connell. So they're and a little like the Chiefs. When's the last time they had a homegrown quarterback? Most of my life, it's been patchwork, right? We're trading for Brett Favre, signing Kirk Cousins from another team. The value of finding your own guy and having him forever will always work in sports. I mean, that's ultimately what fans want. And that's what GMs and team builders want. So I would expect them to make a huge trade right around the draft, if not on draft
I really
night.
like Minnesota's future. And again, I'll say it. I felt this way about 3 years ago with Stefanski. I thought, we're looking at a great coach. He needs to get equity in that building because they're always cycling through coaches. I think Kevin O'Connell is Stefanski. You're going to have a coach of the year guy. When you can take a quarterback without a practice and he's not gifted, he's Josh Dobbs, and win an NFL game, that is McVay level stuff. And McVay, by the way, it has told people, they called him the tall McVay when he went to Minnesota.